James Helder, IFL TV, in association with MTK Global. I'm quite fortunate enough to be joined by KALLE SAUERLAND. We've just had the WBA World Title champion George Groves against Jamie
Super
Fox.
champion.
Super champion,
James,
I might
super
add.
champion.
In the first round of the World Boxing Super Series. Excited to get everything kicked off?
Absolutely. You know, I think the whole tournament is buzzing with excitement, the whole thing around it. I think there's storylines coming up. I think the storylines are going to get better and better. You know, there's cracking English fights. If you look at, obviously, next week in Liverpool, Callum Smith, Eric Skoglund for the WBC Diamond Championship, as well as obviously being a quarter-final in the tournament. Winner of that faces Bramer versus Brandt. And you got here, obviously, today, kicking off for the Wembley fight in October. I've already seen actually we have the pre-sale on the tickets for Wembley. I mean, and I've promoted a couple of shows with George at Wembley. I mean, it just shows the difference that it's at now already, how quick it moves. And the winner of that obviously faces the winner of none other than Chris Eubank Jr., who has a tough fight against Yildirim in Stuttgart. Okay. So you know. That's the, you know, obviously in the cruiserweights, all sorts going on. I mean, next weekend, Hook versus Usyk.
That's mental.
It's going to be mental.
Such a great fight.
It's going to be mental. And, you know, you will be able to see it in the UK. I'm not going to tell you right now where, but you will be able to see that fight in the UK.
Okay, that's what we like to hear. Let's talk a little bit about George Groves. He seems very comfortable in his skin since winning that WBA Super title against Chudanov. I mean, what's the mood like around him at the moment?
I don't know, James, you've been following him a long time. He's always comfortable in his skin, George. So I don't know if there's any difference there. That's you're almost a promoter, I've got to say.
He seems like he's more relaxed, shall we say? He doesn't got
he's more
calm.
He's more fulfilled in a way, but
fulfilled, yeah.
But I think that was it ended up being our night up there in Bramall Lane, Sheffield, and you know. And it was, you know, that journey with George is one that, you know, gives me goosebumps. It's all about what boxing's about, you know. We joined the train a little later, but we joined it just before the Wembley Stadium fight, and then it, you know, was up, down, up, down, up, down. And then last year we had that, which I think was the most important year in George's boxing career since he picked up his gloves. I think last year, and I remember doing the press conference. For I can't remember, he fought an Italian kid at the Copper Box, and was on a Sky card, and he. I said at the press conference, I said, this is all about rebuild time. It's about give them time, you know, George and Shane to bond, and don't expect, you know, this to go quick. And we said we'd pick up the pace, and then we ended up obviously going. We did that one, then we did another one, then we did Martin Murray, which was obviously a big step up. And you know, he outclassed Martin that night. Martin's a great fighter, but that certainly wasn't his night. It was an absolute class performance by George, and that was the moment when I thought, right, we've got this crack now. And then you've got to go out as a promoter and find, you know, we just managed to get him in as a WBC mandatory. Then it was the Bradley Jack fight. It's like, how am I going to get him into mandatory position? Because George is a tough one to take as a voluntary. No one really wants to fight George Groves as a voluntary, because you're going to have to give him a fair paycheck, and he's a tough kid. So, you know, as a voluntary, you look for you know, a little bit of an easier touch for a lesser paycheck. So I was thinking, how am I going to get him? And, you know, obviously the WBA chance came up. It was coincidence with the whole Storm Shudanov. Now I'm rambling a bit, but the story does go back that far. Mm. And now if you look at what ultimately happened, I think it's poetry, boxing poetry.
How satisfying is it for you where you are with George Groves, the fact that when you signed him, it was on the brink of him facing Carl Froch, I believe, for the second time? If he would have won that fight, he would have been the biggest star in world boxing at the time. I mean, to have that disappointment, to do and regroup, to come back, is it more satisfying to be where you are now after that?
Difficult, good question. You know, Carl came over to me in the ring and said no hard feelings, because Carl has always been a bit of a nemesis of mine. And I get on well with Carl now, but you know, during the whole Mikkel Kessler fights and to the Super Six when we worked very closely over many fights.
He could be salty at times, Cole.
Yeah,
can't he?
but since he's retired, we get on well. Not that I never want to have a row with him. But yeah, it was. Let's put it this way: I felt like I'd signed. Obviously, so I just was so sure he was going to win that rematch. And yeah, in boxing you can never be sure. Never be sure. You know, never be sure. And you know, and it obviously, you know, like I said, so I guess satisfying. You only appreciate something when you really work for it. Now I signed him, but I didn't really, you know, we didn't work for that. We had work negotiated for the signature and stuff, but we hadn't been through that emotional ride. And you know, the promoter, you know, everyone thinks we're just blood and signatures and money. Actually, we've got some emotions, and I'm particularly close to certain fighters, not all fighters. Some fighters, you know, is so-so, but George is one that obviously we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot.
This tournament is
But in the tournament, it's you know, I'm here not today. I wasn't speaking as his promoter. I'm speaking on behalf of the tournament as such. You know, I've been given the honourable duty of being their chief commercial officer of a great group of individuals behind the company. You know, and putting it together has been a lot of fun. It's difficult. It's different when you're not spending your own money. I certainly wouldn't have spent $50 million. I tell you that now, but you had to spend it to get this done. You know, to get this level of depth and this quality.
Will this tournament, sorry to interrupt you, will this tournament be remembered, and do you think it will go down as the Super Six did in the past, very well respected at a high end level? Yeah,
I think the Super Six, don't forget, was a little bit of my creation at the time, together with Ken Hirschman and Peter Norland. It had its pluses and minuses. You know, there's you know, salt and vinegar with the Super Six, as I say. You know, there's the good parts and the bad parts. I think, you know, what annoyed me the most was the politics. And the politics came out of, and there's no offence to Showtime, but Showtime was controlling the tournament. A broadcaster being the central governing body doesn't work. You need to have an individual, you have to have someone who says, all right, you say you're not fit, well, you're out. And not, okay, well, he's the superstar on our channel, so we're going to have to wait, and you know, we're going to wait and reschedule. I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, I remember they moved Jarrell versus Abraham from Palm Springs, which is like 40 degrees, to, where was it, in Detroit, you know. Detroit was like -10, you know. And in the space of 4 weeks, you know.
Have you learned from the pitfalls? So,
yeah, of course. That's what, if you look at the time, when the Super Six came out, I love the storylines that came out of it. You know, thinking about the Kessler-Froch fight, for example. You know, Abraham Taylor in Berlin was a huge event as well. But it was in retrospect, it was a very expensive pilot project. If you looking back in time, hope no one sues me for that. But you look at it, and then you take your learnings out of it, and that's why we've got next week in Liverpool Martin Murray. That's why we've got Patrick Nielsen, the WBA, I think #2 here, ready to go in. It will always be someone where the bill can still work locally. So here it was an easy one. We can get anyone in because they're both British. So you know, someone drops out, Patrick Nielsen comes in. It's been well thought through. You know, and that's not my doing. I did a lot of the sports side, my brother especially as well. Probably more of my brother there because he knows a bit more about boxing than me. But he's a boxing nerd. but you know, I think the TV side, one of the biggest shareholders in the company behind this, the World Boxing Super Series, is Modern Times Group. And Modern Times Group, fortunately enough, has a very big passion for boxing. They've had a lot of success of pay-per-views over the years, but they've also seen the downfalls. You know, the cancellations, the this, that, and the other. You can't, as a business, as a serious business, and MTG is a stock-listed company, you can't make a business case out of it. So when you look at boxing, you've got this here's reliable program. The fans will always know there's a fight. The broadcasters who are ultimately paying for the product will always know there's a fight. So you've got consistency. You know, you've got this timeline now, 8 back-to-back Saturdays. That is a nightmare for us. But for the fans...
It's a nightmare for us media as well.
And as I said, you know, you'll be travelling to some nice places, you know. But, you know, it's like, I looked at my schedule, I'm going yesterday in Zurich, today I'm in London, Monday I'm in Riga at a press conference, Wednesday in Berlin at a press conference, then it's Stuttgart for a press conference, then it's off to Liverpool. It's odd because it's all like your year compacted into one. So I've sought a good divorce lawyer. That was the first thing I did. But no, joking aside, it's going to be great fun. It's like going on, I don't know, like a rock and roll tour or something. You know, it's hey, I'm off for 8 weeks now. I'll see you later. You know, it's non-stop. But the side programming, you'll see amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. You know, they filmed the guys behind the scenes. Seen a lot of different versions of how HBO have done it, Showtime have done it, Sky have done it, and all broadcasters do it slightly differently, but very, very well. This is also, you'll see, it's also, again, a bit different. When you see the setup, James, the people are asking me always, why are you announcing fights and like 3 weeks later only it goes on sale? When you walk into the venue, I don't know if you're coming to Berlin, but if you've got to see the setup is not rectangular, it's circular. Now, I'm not going to give away too much, but it looks like something out of Game of Thrones. I mean, honestly, it's not it's futuristic, it's more like it's going back in time. It's got a feeling of, you know, and I don't want any fans to get this the wrong way, but it feels like we're kicking off. You know, this is like, enter the arena, the gladiators are coming, you know, this is it. And I don't know. I've got that. I think that romantic charm about boxing. I think that's why I love going to fights in the UK, promoting fights in the UK, and because I think it's here, especially in the UK, it's going to go down a treat.
Now, the most frequently asked question so far to me, no doubt to you, to everybody involved in it, is where can the fans see it? What broadcast network is going to be showing it? Where is it going to be available? What is going on with the TV schedule? Is there any information you can give us, or I can pry it out of you?
Well, that part, I can just tell you for now. Yeah. It's imminent. That's the only thing I can say. Okay. First of all, it's once again, not my company. Yeah. I look after the sports side, commercial, events, TV, finances, all different. The only thing I'm there to do is to make sure the fighters are there, the fighters behave, and get the show on. About the TV, I'm as curious as well, so I'm asking the whole time. You know, I think they're
it's got to be the most asked question. So
it is. It's like I put sign out. I don't know. My I don't know. I'm just trying to think. We're putting on a show. Team Sound's putting on a show in Sweden. Straight thing. The first thing's asked. Great. Who's showing it? What, Sweden show? No. Who's showing the Super Series? And you know, the first big deals were announced this week. It's imminent. And it's late, but you have to also understand. We went from the draw in Monaco with the lineup. We didn't have the lineup before. So some broadcasters were, okay, cool. No, we buy into that now. We'll do it without the lineup. But others wanted to see the lineup first.
And rightly so.
Fair enough, yeah. I mean, especially if you look at the big UK outlets, and you know, I'm not going to say names, but we all know the names. If you look at the fights, the fighters involved, you know, there's 4 UK fighters now. 4 UK fighters. They're all TV kids. You know, Jamie, maybe lesser so, but Jamie Cox has his story to tell with James. That George Groves, Jamie Cox is you know, I thought it was relatively quiet today.
Now, you know, us Brits, we're a bit mad when it comes to boxing. We don't just want to watch the 4 English fighters. We want to watch everything.
Round.
No, we want to watch the lot.
No,
will there be a broadcaster?
You're going to be able to see everything.
That's what I need to hear.
Everything, every bit of side programming.
Via the same broadcaster?
By the same broadcaster.
Wow, that's incredible. That is good. That is good news for the tournament. So it saves channel hopping and worrying about what's going on. Am I going to miss this? Can I see that? So we'll
Correct.
hopefully that will be alleviated.
Correct.
Okay. Kalle Sauerland, it's great to get you back on the channel, mate. Thank you for giving me some time today.
Lovely to see you,
Look forward to
James.
seeing you. Cheers, mate.
Take care.